Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com. HAARP turned on for the weekend, fired up for my birthday. ESG loan debt bubble and space junk putting metals in our stratosphere? Or is this a cover for something else? All that and more coming up very shortly. If you're watching this anywhere else, if somebody's downloaded this video and you haven't come over and checked out Climate Viewer on YouTube, please come over, hit that subscribe button if you want to be part of the live chat, especially. And if you can, come over to climateviewer.com, check out all of my research. That can also be found on connect.climateviewer.com, where you can find all my social media. And I need to bring the new Telegram chat up, which is something I'll talk about in just a little bit. But, wasting no time, let's get right to it. So, for my birthday, HAARP turned on. So, yes, my birthday was November 4th. And wouldn't you know it, the bad boys up in Gakona, Alaska, decided they were going to do some air glow experiments. Now, before we talk about, what they were actually doing, this is kind of the point of even bringing this up. Many people are under the assumption that HAARP is always on. Like, I get at least, 1,000 emails annually from every single storm being caused by HAARP. Well, I saw gravity waves in the sky, Lee waves. Must have been HAARP. All of it has to be HAARP. Everything's HAARP. HAARP is never on. Like, it's never on. In the very near future, I will be having Dr. Chris Fallon, the previous director of HAARP, on a live interview. So look forward to that, and we'll talk about it in detail. But basically, artificial air glow is basically creating artificial aurora. It is pumping electromagnetic waves from the HAARP ionospheric research instrument, the IRI. What most people call HAARP is actually called the IRI. This is HAARP's ionospheric research instrument here. And they've been pretty transparent about it lately. Ever since the military closed the facility in 2015 and gave it to the University of Alaska Fairbanks, Chris Fallon took over as director of HAARP, and he was literally live tweeting anytime HAARP was on. Just saying. But you can see here, HAARP announces new research campaign November 4th through 7th, 2023. All the links are already in the details. So if you want to, check these out, share them independently, you're welcome to do that. HAARP will be conducting a research campaign November 4th through 7th to study artificial air glow and very low frequency, extremely low frequency radio waves. The primary goals of this research campaign are to better understand the mechanisms of the ionosphere to produce optical emissions. So these are actually visible light, as you can see here, optical emissions. That is what air glow is. It is literally making parts of the ionosphere glow, usually in red or green, artificial aurora. And to investigate certain types of waves in the ionosphere that can amplify very low frequency or extremely low frequency waves. Additional experiments seek to determine if satellites can use plasma waves in the ionosphere for collision detection and avoidance. Amateur radio operators can find a copy of HAARP November 2023 transmissions notice here. So this is another thing that I've been saying. Somebody mentions LOFAR in the chat. I can bring that up if you want to talk about it. Anyway, basically HAARP, whenever they do this, they usually put these out. And the reason why is because they do have ham radio operators around the world who are listening in. I have many friends who are ham radio operators. Anytime HAARP's on, I know about it instantly because they're like, yo, I got a 2.8 to 10 megahertz signal coming out of Gakona right now. So this is easily detectable. You know when it's on, you know when it's off. pretty obvious stuff. But you can see right here, they even tell you, you know, like exact times that they're going to be on during these days. Um, you know, what frequencies they're going to be operating on. So here, 3.25, 6.8, 9.6. And they tell you when, you know, to tune in, basically. And here's a radio signed, you know, example. And of course, they say, you know, somewhere toward the end of this, you know, that if you're, you know, basically they give notification also to planes flying over so that they don't end up, you know, it would be bad, big bad news for you to be an airliner flying over HAARP while it's pumping 3.6 million watts into the air. Just saying. So they can't exactly keep it a secret. When it's on, they usually notify the public. But I thought it was just interesting. Haven't heard HAARP on for a while. I think that Chris told me that it's about $500,000 per hour to operate the HAARP IRI because it's powered by diesel generators. So it's extremely expensive. It's barely ever on, and when it's on, they usually tell the public. Just saying. So that's interesting. Somebody mentioned LOFAR. I'll bring that up real quick for, you know, S and giggles. Let me see real quick. ClimateViewer.org. All right, here we go. We're gonna pop right into that. If you come over here, you go to ClimateViewer 3D, and you go to History and Science, Atmospheric Sensors and EMF Sites. LOFAR should be in here unless I removed it. I'm gonna have to put. I'm building a new version of this. I'm gonna put a search filter on here. It's gonna be a major fit. There it is. This is the low frequency array, or what's known as LOFAR. And bring up one of these has got a photo. Yeah, so this is what a LOFAR facility looks like. So this is actually LOFAR is a low frequency listening system. So when ionospheric heaters or ELF or VLF, yeah, it looks just like an octopus. Pretty cool stuff. Whenever they're doing these ELF or ULF transmissions, the LOFAR or low frequency array is used to detect those signals. In fact, many of you probably don't know this, but LOFAR was actually part of a joint experiment called HALO. The HALO experiment was the HAARP LOFAR experiment. So good on you, John Kuehls, for bringing that up in chat. All right, so we're gonna just move on to the next thing. Before we leave there was this, because this happened at the same time. So while they were up there doing experiments, this was November 8th, right in the middle of the experiments, and says IKYMI, NASA is launching rockets into the Aurora Borealis to learn more about its effects on heating and winds. And you can see this here.
This is actually not
RSM. Go. TMA. TMA go. PTM. PTM go. Pfizer. Pfizer go. LO. LO go. PLC.
Oh.
Go. ACS. ACS.
There it is.
Inference go. PI. PI go. MM. MMS go.
Oh, that's cool.
Poker go. DM is go.
I don't think my camera got it.
I don't think so. Oh. Wow.
That's
Beautiful.
so cool.
Should hear it in a second too.
Wow.
This is actually not
RSM.
Crazy stuff, right? So that I was expecting a chemical plume behind that, because typically they'll launch sounding rockets. And I haven't been able to get any more information on what type of rocket, what instruments were on the rocket that they launched during that campaign. But normally you would see chemical trails, big chem trails coming out of them. So it'd be things like trimethyl aluminum, barium, strontium, things like that. Because those chemicals stick to magnetic field lines, they allow them to diagnose the ionosphere. They're already heating it with the HAARP IRI. So they're able to, heat up those chemicals and do more experiments using that. Pretty typical stuff. No, I don't like it. Chris and I have talked about that. I was like, bruh, I don't like you doing the chemtrail thing. In fact, just so we all know who I'm talking about here. I was having a debate with Fox meteorologist Paul Delgado, and he wasn't getting what I was putting down. So Chris actually said this. Let's see if the tweet is still up there. Yeah. And this is Dr. Chris Fallon. With apologies to at Paul Fox 3, who's doing his best under the circumstances. Here are some pictures of trimethyl aluminum trails from sounding rockets launched from the Poker Flat Research Range north of University of Alaska Fairbanks. In other words, legitimate chemtrail science. To which, I was like, he. But yeah, I had a long running to date debate with Paul from Fox News, and he just, Chris jumped in there and just kind of put him in his places, like, because Paul kept saying chemtrails are not a thing, and I'm like, but they are. And I mean, do you know anything about sounding rockets, dude? But anyway, that's that. Now you may be wondering, why in the world would BlackRock CEO Larry Fink say he no longer uses the term ESG? It's been totally weaponized, he says. And in fact, he says, I write about stakeholder capitalism, and I'm a big believer that you have to focus on all your stakeholders, Mr. Fink said. So there's nothing to be ashamed about ESG. I just don't use the word ESG anymore. I'm not going to use the word ESG. And it's not a word, it's an acronym. But whatever. I'm not going to use the word ESG because it's been misused by the far left and the far right. When asked to clarify how the term had been misused by the far left, Mr. Fink said, they don't care that it's not my money. They're asking us to do things we're not permitted to do, and they would like us to decarbonize. That's not my money. I mean, if our client wants to decarbonize, we're willing to work with them to help them in that pathway. We're investing more in decarbonization technology than we ever have in the last 2 years, but we've worked with our asset owners in blue states and red states, and our job is to be working with them and helping them build a long-term solution. Okay. So I thought that was kind of weird at the time. Larry Fink, BlackRock, I'm not going to say ESG anymore. And now it makes sense. And now it makes total sense. Bankers seek legal cover after backing $1.5 trillion of ESG debt. Oh no. Oh no. You mean people have been taking out borrowing money to say that they're doing, ESG work, they're doing stuff for sustainability and the environment, but they actually weren't? There's a word for that, and it's called greenwashing. So ironically, not ironically, yeah, people are just, claiming some BS to be able to get money out of banks. They always just, I want to save the climate. We'd like $20 billion loan, and we promise we're gonna, use it to decarbonize, because United Nations, because Agenda 2030, because net zero, please, give us some money. We promise we will do the right thing. Well, promises aren't good enough anymore. And now, risks are surfacing in the sustainability linked loan market. This is something you're probably going to hear more about, even though it's barely anywhere on the internet right now. This is just scratching the surface. Shout out to Dominic Marama for pointing me at this. SLL business has mushroomed amid lack of regulatory control. So the wash here is that basically these sustainable, loans had no way to actually verify whether somebody was actually doing the right thing. They were actually doing the thing they claimed they were doing. And now we have this huge $1.5 trillion debt bubble to the sustainability linked loans. Okay. So ESG, the idea behind environmental social governance goals are being redesigned by banks in response to rising regulatory pressure and to inject more credibility into a market they hope to grow. SLL's sustainability linked loans, which were first used in 2017, offer a slightly cheaper borrowing rate, typically around 2.5 to 10 basis points less, if companies meet goals such as cutting their carbon emissions or improving board diversity. Being racist. I mean, there's no nice way to put it. If you're pushing equity, then you're just being racist against somebody else. You have to exclude somebody to be more equitable, to be more inclusive. You're going to have to say, hey, white people, take a back seat. Hey, like Harvard. Hey, Asians, there are way too many of you here. We need more diversity. Anyway, the word makes me want to throw up. America is diversity. We used to call it the melting pot, but whatever. Everybody assimilated. They wanted shared value. That's what made America special. Now everybody wants to go, oh, I'm oppressed. I should get a, I should get a little bump, and could you give me a ladder because I'm an oppressed class and therefore I should be on the board of some, big ass business. And if if you put me on your board, then you can go borrow a bunch of money, and they'll give it to you because you're doing ESG's, you're doing God's work. If God is the United Nations. Anyway, banks need to balance tougher standards without killing demand for SLLs, which, unlike loans tied to specific projects, allows borrowers to use the money raised however they choose, as they count towards lenders' own sustainable finance commitments. Quote, there is no more hype, said Constance Chalchat? I don't know. Chief Sustainability Officer for BNP Paribas Corporate and Institutional Banking. Quote, if you're not 100% bulletproof, it can create greenwashing or reputational risks. Of 14 major banks reviewed by Reuters, JP Morgan was the only one in which it did not automatically count labeled loans and bonds towards its own sustainable finance target. Amid increasing regulatory scrutiny and suggestions that SLLs enables companies to inflate their green credentials, flaunting their green cred. You can't make this stuff up, dude. You cannot make this stuff up. Oh my god. Where there is green, it's about the money. It ain't about being green. It's about that cheddar. Just, you can't make this up. Amid, amid increasing regulatory scrutiny and suggestions that SLLs enables companies to inflate their green cred, LSEG data shows issuance has slumped 36% to 310 billion so far in 2023 from 480 billion in 2022. Total loans volumes fell in the period, but by a less sharp 21%. So if you look, I got a little chart here. Charts are fun with charts. This was 2019, and these are sustainability linked loans dwindle. Bank lending with interest rates tied to sustainability targets is falling globally in 2023. Oh, what happened? Did people just stop taking an interest in saving the climate? Or they just don't like green money? Or do they not want their green cred shredded when the regulators come calling? So this is potentially a very large debt bubble that could burst because according to the multiple sources that I reviewed, if the regulators come in and say, you took out these loans for sustainability purposes and we want the proof, show us where you actually did something to decarbonize, and then they can't, suddenly their rates change. The type of loan that they were given now is no longer an SSL. I'm thinking, that's the hacker and that's the computer guy. SLL is no longer that. It's a totally different type of loan, and they're a deep doo-doo, and they could default. And a whole bunch of, green, washing climate cultists who took out money under the guise of, sustainability and ESG, they may be going broke very soon. So keep tuned for that. That might get real interesting. So now on to the main topic of this video. Oh, you just can't make this stuff up. Burning satellites could accidentally geoengineer the Earth. Why do I keep hearing that damn word accidental? Like, airplanes are accidentally geoengineering the Earth. Ship tracks are accidentally geoengineering the Earth. Now, you got to be kidding me. Burning satellites could be accidentally geoengineering the Earth. So that's a whole ass thing. Yeah, so they talk about things like Starlink and, similar project dubbed StarNet by China and all these. That's a whole lot of metal up in space and accidental tinkering. Early this year, a test run of geoengineering technology that would use atmospheric particles to scatter incoming sunlight to cool the planet below was suspended amidst public resistance. What are they even referring to here? Oh, they're talking about Scopex. That's Harvard. That's David Keith and Harvard's solar geoengineering program, Bill Gates' money. But now the exact same thing may happen anyway, as burning aluminum satellites in the atmosphere will likely have a similar effect, University of British Columbia astronomer and paper co-author Aaron Boley told Space.com. Quote, now it looks like we're going to run this experiment without any oversight or regulation. We don't know what thresholds are and how that will change the upper atmosphere. Gizmodo, metals from rockets and satellites are polluting Earth's upper atmosphere. Falling pieces of space junk could be altering the stratosphere and negatively impacting our climate, new research suggests. This is October 17th, 2023. Back to the top. Signatures of the space age. Spacecraft metals left in wake of humanity's path to the stars. Oh, that's such a fancy title. Thank you, Purdue University. But yeah, they flew a plane up there. They sniffed some atmospheric, some stratosphere, and wrote a paper about it. Like here it goes. Metals from spacecraft reentry and stratospheric aerosol particles. Over on PNAS. I don't know. am I like a man child for just thinking that is the funniest title for a website ever? I mean, it's penis. Okay. I'll get over myself. Anyway, straight face now. Over on penis, I mean penis. Um, Measurements show that about 10% of the aerosol particles in the stratosphere contain aluminum. Oh my God! It's the chemtrails! All right. Now, like, for me, that alone is enough for me to go, damn. 10% of the aerosol particles in the stratosphere contain aluminum. Whoa! Hold up. Wait a minute. Good God. Oh, I gotta start over. Measurements show that about 10% of aerosol particles in the stratosphere contain aluminum and other metals that originated from the burn up of satellite and rocket stages during reentry. Although direct health and environmental impacts at ground level are unlikely, okay. These measurements have broad implications for stratosphere and higher altitudes. With many more launches planned in the coming decades, metals from spacecraft reentry could induce changes in the stratospheric aerosol layer. And I'm not going to read you all the boring parts right here, but when spent rocket bodies and defunct satellites re-enter the atmosphere, they produce metal vapors that condense into aerosol particles and descend into the stratosphere. So far, models of spacecraft re-entry have focused on understanding the hazard presented by objects that survive to the surface rather than the fate of the metals that vaporize. Translation: their previous studies are much more interested in how many of these satellites are going to fall on your head or your house or like literally, blow you up. Jesse Hall in chat. What's up, Jesse? The Missing Link Live. You guys, everybody subscribe to him right now. That's an order. You got a blue name now. What's up, Jesse? Anyway. They've only, looked at that, not, how the spacecraft burn up and where the metal goes. So here we show the metals that vaporize during spacecraft reentries can be clearly measured in stratospheric sulfuric acid particles. Over 20 elements from reentry were detected and were present in ratios consistent with alloys used in spacecraft. Okay. So this is what we call a logical jump. This is where they find a thing, bunch of metals in sulfuric acid in the stratosphere, and then they go, space junk? It's got to be space junk, right? Well, these things are in spacecraft. They're in rockets. They're in satellites. Must be space junk. Proceed. Over 20 elements from reentry were detected at present ratios consistent with alloys used in spacecraft. The mass of lithium, aluminum, copper, and lead from reentry of spacecraft was found to exceed the cosmic dust influx of those metals. About 10% of stratospheric sulfuric acid particles larger than 120 nanometers in diameter contain aluminum and other elements from spacecraft reentry. Planned increases in the number of low Earth orbit satellites within the next few decades could cause up to half of the stratospheric sulfuric acid particles to contain metals from reentry. The influence of this level of metallic content on the properties of stratospheric aerosols is unknown. Okay. So let's kind of wrap our heads around this. You want me to believe that the occasional rocket launch, rocket body is responsible for all the metals that were found in this penis paper. Metals from spacecraft reentry and stratospheric aerosol particles. Okay. I'd love to have a discussion with these people because I'm always finding these scientists with their silly ass ideas, and I'm going, where did you get this silly ass idea? So let's, be realistic. What are we talking about here? So yeah, there's a lot of space junk, okay? Everything in blue is an active satellite, all right? Like this line right here, these are all Starlink satellites. Guaranteed, that's Starlink right there. Starlink 3078 2. All right? Know it, love it, there it is. Hate it. I don't want to trigger warning. There's a globe on the screen. Just I should have put the trigger warning up first. Trigger warning. If you are offended by round things, now is not your time. Behind me, just focus on this picture, this flat map behind me, okay? I want you to go woosah and ignore like the next 2 minutes, okay? Woosah, flat earth, close your eyes and just listen. Trigger warning. There, I did it. So these blue ones are satellites. They're not balloons floating in the upper atmosphere above our flat plane, because all the purple ones are space junk. As you can see, there is a huge ring here. That's a ring of space junk. All of this is a smattering of space junk. And they're telling us that basically this is low Earth orbit, which you can see right here, this little ring. These are where the Starlink satellites are and other LEO satellites, low Earth orbit satellites. These are not. The ones all the way out here in this big ring, that's geostationary. They don't move. They pretty much follow the Earth and they stay over the exact same spot at any given time. But anything down here close, these are the low Earth orbit satellites that they're talking about. And what they're saying is, these things are falling into the atmosphere, and now we have so much space junk, and we're going to have so much more in the future, that is the likely cause of all the metal that they found. Now, let me know in the comments. Do you think that is the case? That all of these metals are coming from rockets burning up, from satellites falling out of orbit? Do you believe that? Or is there another possible solution? I think there is. So we're going to talk about that. So if you go to climateviewer.com/cirrus clouds matter, this is what you'll see. Cirrus clouds matter, the shady truth about artificial clouds. And right here, metals detected in jet exhaust. What metals are we talking about? We're talking about these metals. These metals are all the same metals that they found. Interestingly enough. And they specifically, said, aluminum, iron, copper were the most abundant, things like that. That's in jet fuel and jet exhaust. Detection right here. As you can see on the paper that is listed right here, I'm going to blow it up really big. The detected compounds were all internally mixed with soot particles. The most abundant metals in the jet exhaust were chromium, iron, molybdenum, sodium, calcium, and aluminum. Vanadium, barium, cobalt, copper, nickel, lead, magnesium, manganese, silicon, titanium, zirconium were also detected. This is from this paper right here by Manuel Abegglen, I think. Chemical characterization of freshly emitted particulate matter from aircraft exhaust using single particle mass spectrometry. This is from 2016. This is new stuff. And hold on. That's not bold either. I opened that up earlier. I do apologize. So this is the actual paper. You can read it yourself. To the people who are talking about the space junk, making, space junk. Whenever trigger warning over. I put the round thing away. We're talking about junk now. To the space junk people, you kind of leaving out the elephant in the room. You're not thinking about the fact that we know that all of the chemicals that you found are in jet fuel, are in jet exhaust, and are in the stratosphere. How do we know that, Jim? You just mentioned a whole bunch of metals, all these freaking metals. But how do you know, Jim, that these are in the stratosphere? Well, there's another thing to link that together. If we scroll down just a little bit more, right past that, jet exhaust in the stratosphere. Though airborne, black carbon is known to dissipate and settle down in a few months under the influence of rain and wind, and is unlikely to travel upwards of 4 kilometers. However, a group of scientists, including from the Indian Institute of Science and ISRO Vikram Sarabhi Space Center, say they now have evidence of such particles existing up to 18 kilometers in the stratosphere, and there's about 10,000 of them in every cubic centimeter. Wait for it. Given the shape and location of these particles, they argue it could only derive from the emissions of aviation fuel. Source: Possible climatic implications of high altitude black carbon emissions 2017. So, and here's that paper right sure. Oh, come on. Zoom with me. So the point here is that these chemicals basically migrate upwards. So as the soot, which is wrapped in sulfuric acid, which is internally mixed with all of the metals, they end up going into the stratosphere. Aircraft exhaust soot is a cloud seed. Soot transports sulfur into the stratosphere. Sulfur and soot destroy the ozone layer. Metals in soot make cirrus clouds. Cirrus clouds cool during the daytime. SRM, solar radiation management. Cirrus clouds trap heat at night. Earth radiation management, ERM. Regardless, whatever you want to call it, we have the source. I mean, like, this is not even up for debate at this point. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that jet fuel is a problem. It's a big ass problem, and it is definitely up in the atmosphere. Last point, jet fuel consumption worldwide. This is 2021. This is in, if you look down here at the bottom, that's really long. I'm going to grab the bar. Definition in 1,000 barrels per day. So you can put 3 zeros behind any number you see here. So we're talking just in the United States in 2021, 1,369,000 barrels of jet fuel burned every single day. I'm going to let that sink in. We'll go back to pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, 2019, 1.7 million barrels of jet fuel per day. China, 800,000 barrels. UK, 265,000 barrels. If you go to ADSB exchange, and you just look, this is what it looks like. FFS. Okay? This is way the heck more than all of the burnt up spacecraft on reentry, period. Okay? And I'm gonna just point at that and go, look, that. Because you can clearly see that go away. You go away. Stop that. All right. So let me get this straight. Hundreds of thousands of planes per day. You know, let's just say, let's give it an average number and let's just throw out 2 million barrels of jet fuel per day. 2 million barrels of jet fuel per day. And you're talking about space junk? Put 10% of the stratosphere is filled with aluminum, and you're not looking at that? I mean, I understand I don't have a PhD. I do have a PhD. My post-hole diggers are outside. But it does not take a mathematician to go 100,000 flights per day. 2 million barrels of jet fuel per day. That jet fuel contains all of these metals and is found up to 18 kilometers in the stratosphere. And you want me to believe that frickin' space junk is the cause? People, you can't be that dumb. I mean, they cannot be that dumb. I do not believe it's possible to be that dumb. I do not believe that, you know, people are going to fall for that, especially when for years and years, for 70 plus years, the airline industry has gone without any regulations whatsoever as it pertains to its particulate emissions. And the fact that we know now beyond a shadow of a doubt that all of these metal nanoparticles are coming out of planes, and that those metal nanoparticles and soot have been found 18 kilometers in the stratosphere, then we know those metals are going in the stratosphere. Why to this day am I the only one talking about this? Why is this not front page news, people talking about it? I don't understand. But apparently space junk is way cooler, and saying that, space junk is going to accidentally geoengineer. Every time I see accidental geoengineering, and this one, it says, on it, 6/7/21. So this is 2021 on this one. But I mean, all the rest are from 2023, which is really interesting. So, on futurism.com, they were saying the accidental word, back in 2021, all that incinerated aluminum would be bad news. Bitch, I mentioned this back then, like I was talking about this in 28, for FFS, the article that I wrote on the soot being in the ionosphere, you wouldn't believe me, but I could just click it and you can see black carbon from aircraft exhaust is destroying ozone, melting poles, and that's my telegrams going to blinga blinga. This is October 25th, 2017. So like when the paper was written in 2017, I'm on it like stank on shite. But anyway, so yeah, this has been known for quite some time. This is the Telegram channel. You guys can see the pinned comment on the live chat there. If you guys want to join my Telegram chat, I mentioned it briefly here that welcome to the new ClimateViewer chat. I haven't had a chat room since Discord banned me and deleted our over 6,000 member server. Hopefully this chat room will stick around and allow us to discuss things free from censorship. Just for posterity, here's when I was banned from Discord and YouTube for medical misinformation. Link to the video right there. And this is the video that got me banned from Discord and a community guideline strike on YouTube, which has been mirrored on Odyssey, and you can see that. And of course, I linked the video you're watching right now. So if you guys want to stay up to date, I'm going to be posting all my links there. You don't have to worry about not getting notifications or anything like that. Please, go to t.me/ClimateViewer chat. And if you use Telegram, Discord banned me. When you get there, watch the video. You can just click on it and it'll come up and you can watch all about me getting banned from Discord. It happened. It's a whole ass thing. Discord. Some of you probably don't even know what Discord is. It's a chat. It's mainly designed for video gamers. So you'd go into Discord and, there'd be different channels. It's kind of like the old internet relay chat, but with a fancy interface. And in my channel, I was able to automatically post updates to everybody who was a member. So whenever I uploaded a video, it would go into the new video section. Whenever I did an interview with somebody else, like Quite Frankly, or, Tinfoil Hat Podcast, I could put my interviews in a separate channel so people could get updates. When am I going to do the Tim Pool show? As soon as, I get in touch with the guy. I did friend him on Facebook. Say on our platform anymore. We're going to monitor what you do off platform and we can boot you for that. And of course this happened. So then I went to go log in, and as you can see, your account has been disabled. Interestingly enough, anyway, you can watch the whole video. It's linked right there in the Telegram channel. I see people joining right now. That's awesome. You people are epic. You are the best. I love you much. And you guys can come over there and join anytime. And I'm gonna put this link up on connect.climateviewer.com. So you'll find it on climateviewer.com. You'll find it on connect.climateviewer.com. I meant to put it up for the video, but whatevs. It's there. We have a chat room again. I will be posting random links that I get throughout the week, interacting with you. Anytime you want to message me, join the chat. It'll be fun. And with that being said, so HAARP fired up for my birthday, burn up the Alaskan sky. Larry Fink doesn't say ESG anymore because the regulators are coming. And there's a big debt bubble that may burst. And there'll be green all over people's faces. And I'm space junk my ass is all I got to say about that. Space junk my ass. Quit talking about space junk. Start talking about the airline industry and how it's freaking 10% of the stratosphere is filled with aluminum. And it's only gonna get worse until we look at the problem and the people doing it. Do I have bumper stickers yet? No, my wife and I are actually working on new merch. I got a lot going on simultaneously right now. Trying to work on a new show. It's gonna be epic. Gonna have all kinds of little things. I'm gonna do a little song and dance. Maybe have like a, little thing going on. Get my little chalkboard out. I want to do a little chalkboard. I got a whole lot of ideas. But anyway. Yes, there will be new merch. So I'm trying to find a merch provider that I can agree with that has the things that I want to make also. And we're definitely gonna have plain fart shirts. We're gonna have polar bears and shit shirts. All of the things that I've got a list of them. The funny ones, the cool ones that we've talked about for a long time making. They will show up eventually, but I will announce that when that merch shop is fully filled out. And I've already bought some of it, so I can actually show you. But that being said, I haven't had dinner yet. I'm going to go eat dinner, and you just ate dinner because I just fed you a whole lot of truth. So your part is now to use that energy you've been given to share it. Because sharing is caring. So please share this video in very weird ways. Share it at the dinner table. Share it with a neighbor. Share it with a stranger. And remember that with information comes power, and with power comes great responsibility. So please use the information I provide free of charge to attack ideas, not people. Love you guys. Catch you on the next one. And get in the Telegram channel. Join the Telegram chat. That way you can stay up to date and you know when my next video is going to be, and be there for the live thing. Love you, mean. Video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.